When you haven't found love, it can feel like everyone else has. It's in every movie, every song, and all the PDA. Looking for love sucks. Thankfully, California Psychics can give you the guidance you need to find the one. We guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. And new customers receive 20 minutes for just $20. Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com and experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
So I can already hear Donald Trump in my head, with one of his traditional defiant cases against Washington, D.C. He would say, rather than drain the swamp, let's leave the swamp. Let's take our government to the heartland, to real America. Let's leave behind the lobbyists and the deep state and the lamestream media. Hello, Lawrence, Kansas, our new nation's capital. It could happen. Hey, don't look at me like I'm crazy. Norman Chad. Norman Chad. Welcome to Gambling Mad with Norman Chad. I am still Norman Chad. Coming up on the program today, how many consecutive races can swimmer Katie Ledecky win? How many Starbucks are too many Starbucks? And how many Buddhist monks can one seductress seduce? Gambling Mad, as always, brought to you by Fritos, picked fresh off of Central California trees every morning, delivered directly to your local retailer every afternoon. And by the refreshing taste of Fresca. Fritos and Fresca, it's a meal. I was born in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Something tells me that before I die, Washington, D.C. will no longer be our nation's capital. Now, how could this be? Either one, America ceases to be, that's a long shot in the immediate future, or two, Donald Trump. Every time Trump proposes something preposterous, everybody goes, that's preposterous, and then it happens. Now, obviously, I have no inside intel here, but I believe it's entirely possible that sometime in the next 3 years, our current twice-impeached president from a previous presidency will propose moving the nation's capital out of Washington, D.C. It's not as crazy as it sounds. Trump keeps railing against the nation's big cities, his hometown, New York, Washington, D.C., Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco. These are anti-Trump hotbeds. These are places his MAGA base deplores. The maggots despise Washington, D.C. more than anywhere. Yes, it's Congress and the federal government that they oppose, but it has transformed into a hate for Washington itself. So I can already hear Donald Trump in my head, with one of his traditional defiant cases against Washington, D.C. He would say, rather than drain the swamp, let's leave the swamp. Let's take our government to the heartland, to real America. Let's leave behind the lobbyists and the deep state and the lamestream media. Hello, Lawrence, Kansas, our new nation's capital. It could happen. Hey, don't look at me like I'm crazy. If we had camera people, they'd be looking at me like I'm crazy. Anyway, I don't know exactly where the Trump mobile will want to go, but I know he might believe it is time to move the whole 9 yards out of Washington, D.C. And I'm thinking Jeff Bezos or Elon might buy the White House, once it's vacant and on the market. We recently talked about Marjorie Taylor Greene and highlighted the Georgia Congresswoman's current slogan, Save America, Fight Communism. I questioned whether or not there was indeed a communist invasion here in America. Well, I wanted to give MTG the benefit of the doubt. So, with some free time on my hands, I decided to travel across America the past couple of weeks in search of communists. Did I find them? Well, let's go over to the national map to bring you the results. Are there communists in America? Let's see where we found them. Let's start by going out to Oakland, California. Longtime political activist Angela Davis, currently a professor at UC Santa Cruz. She also twice was on the vice presidential ticket for the Communist Party. Communist! Let's go down to Miami, all right, down in Florida. Cuban dictator Fidel Castro, on his single visit to Miami in 1955, spent most of the afternoon in the Dollar Tree store because, as he told friends, it was the only stuff he could afford. Communist! Finally, yes, there's more. Finally, let's go to Steubenville, Ohio. In the waiting room of a car wash in Steubenville, they always have the latest copy of Communist Car Wash Illustrated, the leading communist car wash magazine in the world. Communists! Now, I gotta admit that even though I went around America, I did not go at any point to Phoenix, Arizona, where this Sunday they're gonna have a high temperature of 118 degrees. Communists famously do not like warm weather. Hey, traffic and weather on the fives all weekend. Let's go back to the desk. Let's take a moment out for our random thought of the day and our random news item of the week. Our random thought of the day. You know how they talk about California falling into the ocean? If far-right conspiracist Lisa Loomer were ever to marry far-right contortionist Stephen Miller, I believe the United States would fall off the planet. And now for our random news item of the week. In the final minute of the Golden State Valkyries Atlanta Dream WNBA game, play was interrupted by a lime green sex toy thrown onto the court. Yes, it was a dildo. The refs blew their whistles. The object was removed rather quickly, and the Valkyries won the game 77-75. Let's talk swimming. Yes, swimming. I hardly ever talk swimming because I do not swim and I cannot swim. Plus, I've never considered swimming a sport. Swimming is something you do when you're in the water to get out of the water. My other problem with swimming, it's pretty simple. You're always wet when you get out of the water, and if you don't have a towel handy, it's just hard to get dressed. But today, I'm going to put aside all my swimming biases to celebrate the magnificence of one Katie Ledecky. In the women's 1,500-meter freestyle, when she was 13 years old, she lost a race to a 17-year-old competitor. That was in 2010. That was the last time she ever lost a 1,500-meter freestyle race. For 15 consecutive years, she is undefeated in the 1,500 freestyle. She owns the 25 fastest times in the event's history. This week in Singapore, Ledecky won her 22nd gold medal in World Championship competition. That is second only to Michael Phelps. She has 9 Olympic gold medals. Okay, so Katie Ledecky, now 28 years old, undefeated since she was 13. How good is she still at this point? The second place finisher in the 1,500 Freestyle World Championship this week was Italy's Simona Quattarella. Quattarella swam 9 seconds faster than her previous best, and she broke the European record by 7 seconds. And she still lost to Ledecky by more than 5 seconds. Okay, I feel cleansed. I mean, enough for swimming today. I usually, as I said, don't usually talk a whole lot of swimming. Just one more thing. Last week, a man knocked on my door, and he asked for a small donation toward the local rec center swimming pool. So I gave him a glass of water. That made me feel so good. Time for Degen's Gonna Degen. Degen's Gonna Degen, case number 1. We return to the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board, which continues to ban various individuals from entering casinos in the state due to various infractions. One of the most common offenses is leaving minors unattended in a vehicle or a hotel room at the casino property. For instance, they just barred a female customer for leaving an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old in a hotel room at Hollywood Casino at Penn National Racecourse while gambling for 7 hours and 41 minutes. You know, my mother used to yell at my father when he left me in the car for 5 minutes so he could go enjoy a cheap cigar in the great outdoors of some strip mall parking lot. That made me yell at my mom because the alternative was that he would smoke that cigar in the car while he was driving, and when he did that, the windows were rolled up because he told us kids that if the windows were rolled down, the car would get worse gas mileage. The net result was my brother and my sister and myself would choke to death in the back seat from secondhand smoke, all to get better gas mileage when gas was selling at 39 cents a gallon. Thanks, Dad. You're lucky I didn't bring that up at your eulogy. But I digress. The Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board now has more than 1,400 persons barred from entering casinos in Pennsylvania. That is a large number, particularly considering the point of the casinos is to have people come in, gamble, and lose. I mean, you pretty much can walk into a casino buck naked, juggling a watermelon, a steak knife, a newborn baby, and a live Cornish hen, and they're not going to throw you out. They want your business. By the way, when the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board makes these decisions, they don't tell you you're barred or you're banned. They say you are now on the quote-unquote involuntary exclusion list. It's sort of a kinder, gentler way to, toss your ass by telling you, we're just going to have to involuntarily exclude you. Come to think of it, rather than taking me to divorce court, I would have preferred if my first ex-wife simply looked me in the eye and said, you are now involuntarily excused from our marriage. Degen's Gonna Degen, case number 2. A woman in Thailand allegedly seduced 9 Buddhist monks before she then blackmailed them for cash. Is nothing sacred anymore? I mean, 1, why couldn't she just leave the Buddhists to meditate? And 2, I've always thought of the Buddhist monks as the last pure people on the planet. Willawan Emsawat was arrested and charged with extortion and money laundering after supposedly filming her sexual encounters with the monks and then blackmailing them. Police allege she took the money, almost $12 million. Don't get me started where a monk's coming up with $12 million. She took the $12 million and she blew it all on online gambling. Hey, everyone's got leaks in their online poker game. The monks, meanwhile, have been disrobed by their superiors. By the way, this is the second time this year that men of cloth have misstepped, I guess that's a polite way to put it, have misstepped in Thailand. In May, Wat Ray King, an abbot at a prominent Thai temple, was charged with embezzling $9 million from the faith group and spending it on online baccarat. Let's just talk another moment about the extortion plot that we brought up. The woman allegedly filmed her sexual encounters with the 9 monks on a smartphone. Police found 5 mobile phones at her residence with video footage of the activity. Okay, several notable things here. This is what we call an old-fashioned honey trap. I love that term, honey trap. A honey trap is a scheme in which, say, an attractive person such as myself, sometimes with false affections, lures somebody into a compromising situation. The woman in this case is what they call an old-fashioned seductress. I love that word, seductress. It might sound a bit sexist, but I love that the word seductress pretty much defines itself. And finally, I just want to repeat the 35-year-old woman's name again who was arrested, okay? Willowan Emsawat. Color me cynical, but if you're looking for trouble, you're going to exchange some spit with a so-called Willowan Emsawat. I mean, just dinner at Olive Garden with a Willowan Emsawat, it's going to go north of $200. I'm just saying. More online gambling that doesn't make any sense. Online baccarat, online poker, online whatever. You know, if you're dumb enough to play online baccarat or online blackjack, you deserve to lose. Several years ago, a buddy of mine became obsessed with online blackjack. I said to him, William, where are the cards coming from? The deck, he told me. What deck? What deck, William? The thing is, the house is almost always going to beat you. That's why the house exists. They're there to make money. Okay? It's their business. So I tried to explain to William that if we, him and me, were to start an online blackjack site, would we set up the software so that we would lose? Of course not. They can do anything they want. They can switch the algorithms, do anything they want. The cards are coming from nowhere. Oh, you've got 19? The house has 20. What a shame. Oh, you've got 20? The house got blackjack. What a shame. William eventually lost so much money and he quit. Duh. I've got to find smarter friends. I was walking through Harry Reid International Airport in Las Vegas the other morning, and I could not believe the number of people waiting to buy an overpriced cup of Starbucks coffee. The line stretched all the way to the Las Vegas Strip, which tells me that my quarter-century-old Just Say No to Starbucks campaign has not been quite as effective as I would like. I started Just Say No to Starbucks in 1999. At that time, there were 2,000 Starbucks globally. Now, in 2025, there are 40,000 Starbucks in the world. Heck, in the Las Vegas airport alone, there are 12 Starbucks locations in the various terminals, which reminds me of Dennis Miller's old joke. There are so many Starbucks, he said, they're building a Starbucks inside of my Starbucks. What is wrong with you people? Starbucks costs too much. It ruined old school coffee culture, and it drove a lot of locally owned coffee shops out of business. So I still beg of you, please get your morning cup of joe at 7-Eleven or McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts. Don't buy anything else at any of those places, but please consume their coffee instead of Starbucks coffee. It is cheaper. It is faster. There is no barista attitude. Who are these guys? These baristas act like they're Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Defense. They're a barista. They don't even have baristas at 7-Eleven, McDonald's, or Dunkin' Donuts. I don't even think you're allowed to say the word barista inside of a 7-Eleven, McDonald's, or Dunkin' Donuts. So please say it with me. Just say no to Starbucks. I don't think anybody said that with me. More bad news from the world of commerce. Frito-Lay is closing its plant in Rancho Cucamonga, California. For 55 years, Fritos, after being picked fresh from Central California trees, have been processed in Rancho Cucamonga. The Rancho Cucamonga Manufacturing Center was the birthplace, the actual birthplace of the Flamin' Hot Cheeto. This is a part of a series of shutdowns. Frito-Lay plants in New York and Maryland were closed earlier this year. More than 400 Frito-Lay employees are losing their jobs with the Rancho Cucamonga closing. All of this resulting from a decline in snack sales. Come on, folks. Fritos and Fresca. It's a meal. Before we wrap up, I'm going to say this one time and one time only. Skunks stink. The other day, Blue and I were on our midnight walk. Suddenly, Blue nearly yanked my right arm out of its socket, pulling me toward a small creature curled up next to a street light pole. Before I knew it, we were essentially eye to eye with the skunk. I heard a hiss, and then we were sprayed. More specifically, Blue, because she's shorter than I am and she was eye to eye with the skunk, Blue took the brunt of the spraying attack. The skunk released a strong, unpleasant odor, not unlike an Adam Sandler golf movie. It was unmistakably foul and overwhelming. We were defenseless. When a skunk sprays that stuff out, what can you do in retaliation? Fart? That's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg. We ran all the way home, and when we got home, Blue started rolling on her back in the front yard grass, trying to get the stench of the spray, the actual spray, off of her. We had to bathe her immediately with a combination of hydrogen peroxide and dishwater liquid, and then we took her to get a full bath from a dog care facility the next morning. We have not walked that way at night since. It reminds me when I go back home to Washington, D.C., where I was born, I never drive past Congress anymore. That's going to do it for another edition of Gambling Mad with Norm and Chad. Hope to see you again next time. And remember, if you're going to roll the dice, make sure they're loaded. The one big, beautiful bill recently passed in Congress, including the one ugly gambling tax thrown in late. Starting in 2026, you no longer can deduct tax for 100% of your losses. It's capped at 90%. This is a huge game changer for anyone who gambles. Previously, for example, if you won $100,000 in poker but lost $100,000 in sports betting, you would owe no taxes. Logically, the losses fully offset the winnings. Under the new law, only $90,000 of losses can be deducted, leaving $10,000 as taxable income. This is equally unfair and insane for professional gamblers. It feels like the resort tax Las Vegas stuck onto hotel rooms several years back. What's really frustrating is that most of Congress was not even aware that this provision was added to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act late by the Senate Finance Committee. No one ever reads any bill in D.C. If Strom Thurmond were alive today, he could re-legalize slavery via a rider on a bill authorizing money for Port Authority renovations. Is this any way to govern? No. Am I going to start paying taxes on my losses? No. Will the Internal Revenue Service scare me silly? No. Come get me, you IRS nillies, because I'll be standing on my front porch holding the tax code and holding the Bill of Rights and holding an H&R Block chump hostage, and I will be gambling mad!
Gambling Mad with Norm and Chad is written by Norm and Chad and ghost-written by Norm and Chad. Executive producers are John Scheinberg and Rick Barrio-Dill. Produced by Norman Chad and Rick Barrio-Dill. Our associate producers are Bree Khoury and Asher Friedberg, and edited by Asher Friedberg with studio facilities at 360 Pod Studios, Beverly Hills.